Today you're going to join me on a deep dive into this John Deere transmission and why it is valuable. Welcome back to Backyard BS, and on this episode we're going to dig into this. This is a 1970 John Deere 112 rear end, but let me tear this apart and tell you why it's special. A couple key features of why this is special is got to do with this tag right here. This tag and casting number 2317. We'll tear this apart and show you a little more about that. To start off on this adventure, we're going to need some tools. So I'm going to bust out my impact and some sockets and we'll start stripping this down. So these tractors are pretty common. You see them all over Facebook or at tractor shows and everything, but this is an option on a tractor that not a whole lot of people know about, and I'd like to share it to keep its history alive. So we'll take off the brake assembly here, keep everything together. And then next we'll move on to taking off the shifter. Oh, I guess it's a smaller size than I thought. And of course we have mismatched hardware. Makes sense. This is 5 decades old. So we'll just take this apart. The hardest part about these is taking these hubs off. Sometimes you have to fight that snap ring that holds them on. But hopefully, since this has been apart before, we don't have to worry about that. Throw our hardware in a tin so that way we don't lose it. Keep it all together. And then after you remove your shifter and everything, put in neutral. Take this off on the side for the pulley. We'll leave some of the hardware in so that way we don't lose it. And then you have to take all of these bolts on this side off to split this. But you also have to pull a hub. So I'll have to look back in my notes to see which side is the best to take off. And then we'll take that side off and jump back in. Alright, well, now we're back, and it looks like I did nothing, but all the bolts are out, and this hub is free to slide off. On this side, I lied. This is what that looks like. I took the snap ring off with 2 pairs of flathead screwdrivers, and I launched it into the stratosphere, so it's somewhere in my shop now. But anyway, now that that's off and out of your way, you can flip your tractor transmission on its side, put it on a rim on that side, and hold it straight up. That is the best way to do this and split these without dumping every gear on the ground. So I'm going to go find a tire and we'll throw this on it and we'll jump right back into it. Alright, now that I've struggled and found the biggest tire possible to put on this for no reason, I can flip this up on its side, like I said, and hold it up. Magic. So this is the easiest way to split open one of these rear ends. Peak the new tires for the narrow front project. Gonna be pretty cool. And yes, they are Firestones, so I can finally be like the cool kids in the 80s with their super stock pulling tractors. But anyway, back to the project at hand. Once you get every bolt out of here, you have an alignment dowel. So you will have to wedge something in there, preferably a flathead or a scraper or something, and open the case up. So you'll need a hammer, which I do not have readily available. Okay, so hammer, and try and get wedged between like this. So it's open. Your dowel pin is right here. And maybe a shorter pry bar will be a little better. And then I believe there's another, yeah, there's another dowel in this back side. We'll just leave that there. So you have to work your way to the back here. Hammer, hammer, hammer. And there you go, you're off the dowels. Now, the tricky part is, if you don't have a manual, pay close attention to how this comes apart. I don't remember if this is the right side or not to pull off, but we'll see how big a mess we make. Come on, don't make a liar out of me. All right, she's loose. Pull straight up on it. And the idea is all your gears will stay on. Unlike mine, I'm a moron and did it the wrong way. And prepare for gear oil to go everywhere. Oh my gosh, I might have done it. Alright, so we have two shafts. Two shafts that still on. I think that's fine. I think you want to pull it the other way though. So we'll just switch it over onto this end. So this gear, the big one with this shaft with the grooves like that, go on the furthest down bearing. And then, oh my gosh, this keeps spinning. You want this washer. There's a washer here on your idler. Then you have this gear like this with a spacer, and that goes on your top shaft next to your idler on the inside. Then you're on that same shaft, you'll have to pull the idler. Okay, here's that idler I was talking about. The small side goes in, and then I'll do a pan down for you guys, so you guys, if you tear yours apart and it falls all together apart, I can hopefully help you. Okay, my hands are a mess. Okay, latex gloves, probably a good idea. So here's where we're at. This is your idler shaft. Okay, we're upside down. This is your idler shaft. This is your shifters. This is the bottom gear that I'm talking about. This is your furthest up gears I'm talking about. Okay, so now we're top side. Where is it? I think this is, okay, this is your top side. So we're all upside down. We'll flip it over. Okay, your idler on the bottom. Lower shaft, the middle shaft, upper shaft. Okay, now you need to pull your shifter. The lower shifter goes on first. Well, I guess this is the upper shifter. Never mind. I'm all backwards. Upper shifter goes on this shaft, I believe. Somehow. Hold on, let me just put this back. Alright, I'll just cut and I'll show you guys when it's done. Okay, we're back. After my incompetent pulling apart, this is what you get. This should be the case that you take off from the other side, which would be the driver side of the transmission, this side. This is the side you want to leave on this tire. So all your gears will stay on. And that looks like this. So I'll probably have you guys skip ahead if you want. We'll say I'll keep this within a minute, okay? I'll talk quick, but skip ahead a minute from right now, and then you'll see the video. So basically, your very bottom shaft, idler, has this gear, the small gear. And then the one in front of that is your main cluster. It has, let me feel here. I think it's a spacer. No, it's a gear. You have two sets of gears, a spacer, your big set, which is this long one. And then you have another idler over here. And then up top is your shifter gears. Your big one goes on the driver's side. Your small one goes on the passenger side. And then looking from the shifter side, this is what the shifter setup should look like. Okay, now we're going back to this side. Your other idler that's in the bottom here, and then differential. That's your whole setup. There's a couple shims, like shim here, and then there's a shim on the inside on that main cluster. Okay, not quite a minute, but we almost got there. So we're back. Here is the side that we were talking about. Now this is why I said this is a very rare transmission, only from a 1970 John Deere, and it is a limited slip. So what if I turn this here, you can see how this whole differential is spinning. That means the diff is working. Now, if I set this up with two hands, you should see, I think I don't know, I'll have to spin it real quick and see how it goes. But there's you could tell, I'll add a clip of me spinning it with both the hubs on. But since this is on a tire, I don't know how it's going to do, but I think it's just going to slip. But, so basically, this is what it is. I'm not going to tear that out because this is kind of a informational video for me and a bunch of other guys. But voila, here it is. I actually have two of these limited slip transmissions. Now, not every John Deere in 1970 will have this, okay? Only the hydraulic, or I think, yeah, only the hydraulic lifts, or either only the hydraulic or electric lifts had this, and not everyone did. This is a rare limited slip differential. We'll tear it apart and I'll show you how it works. Alright, we're back. I pulled the 4 bolts out, and here's your magic. Voila. So this is not your typical spider gear setup, you might realize. So basically how this works is there is this little inside area that has this big gear on it, and that's on top of this other shaft on the bottom. I'll pull it off too, but we'll set this here. Now these are not, they do not sell anything to rebuild these anymore. So that's partly why I'm tearing this apart. Because this one was blown up. I bought this one blown up. I still have the case and everything. Sadly, it did not have the limited slip tag, which is pretty cool, but I found another one, so I can say I've had one. So anyway, quit ranting. This is the inside. So instead of your spider gear setup, like I'll show in another picture, you have this. This is the limited slip. It has 2 gears, normal style gears on the outside, and they mesh with these 5. These 5 are on each side, and they're offset. You can kind of see there, they're all offset. So you can see down in this area, there's a gear here, gear here. You get the picture. These are just saw cut. And this housing is specific for these saw cut gears, but there they are. This is all it is. You have 10 of these little saw cut gears that sit inside this housing. And how they work is this in the middle is a friction ring. So when the tractor is spinning one side, this will friction enough that it will lock into the little grooves on the teeth and make it so your tractor has a limited slip. So how that works is when one side's slipping, they'll be intertwined like this. Your one side's slipping. Well, when that slip goes low enough, if you're slowly moving, this little spring, which is pretty taut, go into these grooves. As you can see how this friction ring is on the flat like this, on this part, not meshing with the teeth, but meshing with the flat between. That is how that works. It meshes with all of them on there, so it'll allow this side to slip, but when you're going quick speeds, these can't spin enough. There's too much friction that these cannot spin quickly, so then that locks this whole solid and goes like this. And that's how, with these meshing to the gear on the axle that is splined on the axle, they mesh with this, and then the friction ring makes it so that way if you're going low speeds, it'll slip, but if you're going a higher speed, it will lock up due to the friction here not letting these spin independently. So, pretty awesome design. Sadly, John Deere doesn't, they still have the diagram for these, but they do not sell the parts. So this is a very, 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 very special part that you'd have to have machined, put inside of a normal casing, welded or somehow get these gears saw cut, get a spring made. I don't know how you'd make that or what material would be or how they did this, and then have all that right to be able to do this. And you can't just water jet all the way through because these are offset. So this is acting as a stop for the other sides, kind of like on this side, it is also acting as a stop. So this would have to be individually end milled, this shape out with like a 1/4 inch end mill, and I guess we'll pop out one of these gears and I'll measure it we'll do that at the end, so that way the people that don't actually care about this don't have to watch the specifics. But okay, But that is how this locking rear diff works. This is probably only the only two of 2,000 that were made. If that, I don't know how many John Deere electric lifts were made, but this is probably only 10% of those 1 year tractors had these. And it is very collectible and very rare. So rare that I bet some of the you John Deere guys never knew that they made this. So it's pretty cool that I was able to find two. I know of four in the world. I've seen one on OK off-road mowers, completely destroyed. They welded it up for a mud mower, not knowing the rarity of it. And then there was one for sale, a round fender, which did not come factory with it, but a round fender that had it swapped into it. So there's just a little tidbit. Tag your John Deere guys and see if they knew this. And this is probably something even the Pope of John Deere, mind you, does not have or probably hasn't found ever. He's a very covenant John Deere guy. Figured this would be a good video. Hopefully somebody can reproduce these. It'd be pretty cool to see more of them out there. But this is going to become a probably show / set on the shelf differential. This is not going to be mine. I am offering this to a fellow John Deere guy and a friend of mine. He has a YouTube channel, Wolfston Tractors. Very great guy. Helped me in the past. And I'm going to pay it forward by, I found this. He's been looking for one for a long time. And I figured I'd do him a favor and pick it up for him and show everybody about it. So that way you could see him. And then interesting things about this. This is going to be into the measurement side and the specialty stuff. So if you aren't really interested in it, this might be where you click off. But if you're interested, this is pretty cool. If you guys have a machine shop or something, if you want to tackle this, it's pretty simple. It's just a lot of specialty parts. You'd probably have to have those gears water jetted, which wouldn't be a bad thing because they're probably not very special for dead on for diameters. So since they just sit in a loose housing, they just have to be within probably 5 to 10 thousandths for what this is. But anyway, done ranting. Funny things. These shafts aren't very taut in their little spot. See how much wiggle that is? You might just say, oh, well, that's just because they're blown out. No, because on this one, it is blown out. So the inside, there's a spline here, okay? But on the inside, there's supposed to be like a bushing or a bearing. This one blew up. It must have blown up when the guy that I bought it from had it, and he just let it go. Or maybe that's just how they're supposed to be. I don't think so. I'm going to completely rebuild this differential and throw it in a normal Peerless 2300 transmission. But this one, blown up. Absolutely gone. But we'll get back to it. So here, we'll get into the measuring. We'll set everything out on the workbench here. I'll get a tape measure out. I do have calipers somewhere, I think. And we'll start measuring this and see what it measures out to for if you want to rebuild one or make one. This would be really cool. Please, please, please try your best to recreate this. This is very rare. They're dying out due to explosions or just not even knowing what you have and the tractor's going to scrap. So keep your eye out and please help restore or remake these because it is a very cool item that could be very useful. The guy that owned this plowed snow with it, and he said when he swapped a normal Peerless in it that this made a world of difference. Okay, now to the measuring. All right, I'm gonna apologize in advance, but I do not have a set of calipers out here. I'm not going to travel all the way inside to get them. So please take these measurements with a grain of salt, but just realize that hopefully these are a pretty common size parts or nominal sizes. So we'll get my tape measure out here, set it to a random size, whatever, and we'll start measuring. So if you want to, I'll shine a light on here so you can pause the video and count the teeth. I am not going to count the teeth myself, but here is a good shot for you. Okay, there we are. And then on this one, we'll do one at a time. Okay, let me get my right hand for this, because from outside edge to the other edge looks like 1 5/8. Okay, so the diameter of the outside of these teeth is 1 5/8. Now, you can probably find online what these teeth are supposed to be for how depth and everything is. So, or do the measurements. I guess we can try our best to get them. So make sure this is set all the way. It looks like 1 1/2. No, 1 3/8. So take that with a grain of salt. We'll move on to the small gear. A little easier because the light's on it. The small gears, they're all the same. There's 10 of them. Oh, and then this is the depth. So looks like 7/8. Yeah, 7/8. Okay, 7/8 by 1 3/4 by 1 3/8, I think it was. Just check back, make sure. These are 1 3/8. Okay, 1 3/8 by. Okay, these are gonna not line up the best, so I'm gonna guess 3/4. Oh, what is that? I'm not very good. It's a 32nd above 3/4. It's that taller notch. I can't remember what they are right now. But you get the deal. Well, I guess we can try and measure the inside. So inside is half inch, I believe. Yeah, half inch. So the 32nd notch above 3/4 and half inch inside diameter from inside of the tooth to inside of the tooth if it was a normal circle. I'm sorry, I know I'm butchering this, but this is probably the best you're going to get for recreating, so please take it with a grain of salt and don't roast me. Here's your spring. You can see they have equally spaced notches for the gears to set in. No, these are not ground into this lock spring. These are factory grooves that the wearing on the outside is definitely from the gears, but that middle groove is not. So you have to keep that in mind. This spring lock friction ring, whatever you want to call it, is 1 1/2. Okay, and that sets like this in here to capture a tooth or so. Okay, now I'll try and measure this outside. I do not know how I'm going to do it, but I will roughly measure this, and we'll figure out how it goes. Or you could find what equal split of a 1.5 diameter circle is by 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 slots. So equally cut a 1.5 circle 10 times. So 10 different pie sections. I am not doing the math for that. It's too late in the day. But there you go. 10 sections, 1.5 inch diameter. Some sort of really strong spring because I can't even budge it. So, and then for the thickness of that, we'll go here. About 1/8 inch thick. And that slot looks like probably like 10 thou. 10 or 10, we'll say 10 to 30 thou. I guess that'll depend how much you want this to friction lock. But 10 to 30 thou on that little groove. Come on, focus. So, and then we'll measure this case because I know that's going to be very important. Get all these gears out. Here's what the bare case looks like. There you go. There is a slot in the middle. I don't know that that is required in the design, but there you go. There's a slot in the middle. These sections, the whole thing is 2 3/8 thick. 2 3/8 from inside notch, or oh, there you go. I forgot it did this, but 2 3/8 from this flat on this side to the flat on the mating side on the opposite end. Now these are tongue and grooved into here, but more than likely you can just notch or make a key for that to make it work and then plug weld it on the end. This is going to be a lot of machining, so only serious people will take this on. That side slots in, the other side slotted in. I think it's froze from surface rust, but we'll just measure this. So this is a 3.5 inch diameter on the outside. From the tip of the round on the top to this flat will be 2.5. So from this edge up at the top to here, 2.5. Mind you, there's probably like 10 or 20 thou, probably 10 thou extra took off from 2.5 to allow for it not to bind up. And then this inner circle is probably 1 7/8 diameter. From here, you see this circle, this inner circle right there, off these edges. And then the diameter of this is slightly bigger than the others, but is 7/8. Yeah, 7/8, I believe. So there you go. There's your measurements. So your gap, we'll get your gap in between. The gap between is 1/2 inch. So 1/2 inch gap in between here. We'll just make sure that both sides are the same length. This one side is 7/8 long, slightly over 7/8. This other side, 7/8. Okay, so these are the same. They have little holes over here for the holes for the bolts to go through. These bolts just go through on the mating flange here, like this, or like this, on the opposite side, obviously. And then they just hammer over the edge, but to lock the bolt. But there you go. Here is your super rare John Deere rear end that barely anyone knows of, barely anyone can find, and barely anyone looks for them because they are basically gone to dust. So here it is. 2 of them to guarantee, because there's a lot of debate on whether these are real or not, and not just a homemade thing. Here it is. 1, which you can look down. There's your spider gear for your locker, because or I guess normal gear that's saw cut. And then 2, here's your other one. We'll get it in frame. 2 of them. 2 of them. We'll even bring it over. And voila. There it is. So, and then also, just so you guys realize, they are keyed different. So you see how it's straight through. This is supposed to be like this. So there is a positioning for these. Hold on, if I can find it. To go back together, and it's supposed to look like this. There you go. They're both the exact same part, exact same diameters, everything, using this lock collar. And that's how it works. It is pretty awesome that John Deere could come up with some system like this. It's honestly a wonder that it works, due to all you have is all these gears go together in this transmission diff like this, and the only thing putting the power from the outside of this to the axles is the bolts through it that hold the hub, which is not mounted to the axle, just holds it, but to this gear and this friction ring. This is the key to all of it. And then, oh, I don't know, I guess we'll get the gap. But this is the key to everything, of why this works, how it works, and everything. Gap is 1/8 inch gap, or 1/4 inch gap. But this is the key. Setting down in here, in the gears, meshing with it. Okay, this is actually pretty difficult to do one-handed. But it sets down in here. Oh, well, I guess if you set a gear on the inside, it can't fall all the way through. But anyway, I'll quit rambling about that. Sets in here. Spring goes all the way down. Yeah, I'm a moron. Spring goes in there and holds these. So basically, the power is being transferred from friction of these getting held against the sidewall by this locking collar that also interacts with this gear. So pretty cool design, guys. I cannot stress to you enough how it is remarkable how this is one of the only limited slip gear drive differentials made, and for a lawnmower. Not to mention, it was made in the 70s. So we're talking 5 decades ago that this was made. And that it was the leader of the pack for the gear drive transmission. If you're looking for the peak of transmissions in the 70s, here it is. Limited slip gear drive differential. Not even Cub Cadets have this. The only thing Cub Cadets could have had is you swap in the differential from a car with a posi in it. But this is a factory option. It's pretty cool, pretty remarkable that I could even find one, and let alone have 2 to prove on forums and confirm to guys that they're real. They were made, they were produced, and they both were from the 2317 casting. I have the other case somewhere, I think down in here, but it has the 2317 casting and was from a John Deere with the electric lift, I believe. Yeah, we'll go with that. Electric lift. But pretty cool. Thank you guys for watching the video. I know this was long-winded. I know it was very in detail for the collectors, but if you watch the whole video, I really thank you. And soon, we'll throw a little spoiler. Soon we'll have this back together. This was my 1655 diesel. It has been cut, redo sheet metal, everything. We'll jump into that here soon. Hopefully get it back together and running. Be pretty cool to have it back. And then the narrow front build with these. Now, you probably don't know what I'm talking about, but I have a 1972 Massey that I picked up from Pennsylvania that had the power lift on my 12 on it, and I got converted to a narrow front. It's going to get custom rear fenders to look like an 1130, and it's going to get these tires with the original 14 horse Tecumseh put back, or not original, but same period 14 horse Tecumseh back in it, and probably getting a turbo. Yes, a turbo Tecumseh narrow front 80s or 70s to 80s style pulling build, or puller tractor super stock build throwback. It'd be pretty cool. I always liked that era, so we're going to try and rebuild it with the tire that they used back in the day, the Firestone Field and Road all tractions. Pretty cool. I looked a long time to find these, and they're even the big dogs, the 26 1212s with the old style lettering and everything. Now, this isn't like a bragging thing or anything. I'm just really excited to show it with you guys and be able to share all this with you. But thanks for sticking with the video. We have some cool stuff coming up. Hopefully, we've got something coming for the back of this tractor. Stay tuned for that. That's probably going to be the next video because I can't help it. And thank you for watching. Please tune into my other videos. I have videos of tearing apart motors and all sorts of stuff on here. So if you like these garden tractors, drop a like, subscribe, check out some other videos. Thanks for watching. Oh, and if you're wondering how hard it is to assemble, very. There you go. It's back. We'll put the other pieces on. We'll call it quits. Who said this was a good idea? I mean, really. This has been 30 minutes after the video. I know it looks stupid, but sometimes that's all you can do to get it back together. Yep, this is my life now. Oh my gosh. One left. One left. Oh my gosh, is it just gonna... Thank God. It's back. Alright, this is the end. I'm done.